The entertainment world thrives on curiosity, speculation, and the unspoken desire to know what really happens behind the scenes. Every smile on a red carpet, every carefully worded interview response, and every public appearance carries layers of meaning. And sometimes, all it takes is one simple question to ignite a storm of rumors that refuses to die down. That moment arrived when Common sat across from a host who decided to get down to business. As the applause echoed through the studio, the question came with a smile, but it carried weight. Are you dating anyone? It was the kind of question celebrities hear countless times, yet somehow, it always lands differently depending on timing. This time, the air shifted. The audience leaned in. Social media prepared to dissect every syllable. And Common, a man known for his calm demeanor and thoughtful responses, paused just long enough for speculation to take root. His answer was measured, polite, reflective. He spoke about being fine, about life moving forward, about how missing someone doesn't necessarily mean regret, it simply means the connection mattered. He explained that missing a partner is natural, that intimacy leaves an imprint long after a relationship ends. But he made it clear, he was okay, at peace, ready for new opportunities. On the surface, it sounded mature, grounded, almost poetic. But for many watching, something didn't quite add up. Because when the interview shifted toward why the relationship ended, the explanation felt familiar. Too familiar. Busy schedules. Those two words have become the most overused excuse in Hollywood breakups. When celebrities want to close a chapter without revealing too much, busy schedules is often the safest exit line. No villains. No drama. No messy truths. But the public wasn't buying it this time. Both Common and Jennifer Hudson are seasoned professionals. Both are global names. Both have spent years balancing demanding careers, travel, and public life. So when viewers heard that scheduling conflicts were the reason for the split, eyebrows were raised. If two successful, disciplined, and experienced individuals couldn't make it work because of being too busy, then what was really going on? The comments flooded in almost immediately. People weren't just questioning the excuse, they were questioning Common's pattern. For years, fans and critics alike have quietly observed that Common's relationships often follow a similar timeline. About a year. Sometimes two. Rarely longer. No matter how promising the romance seems at the start, it often ends with the same soft explanations and graceful exits. And Jennifer Hudson was no exception. In fact, many believed their relationship had already surpassed expectations. They had been together longer than most of Common's past relationships. They appeared publicly comfortable, supportive, balanced. To some, it felt different, more grown, more intentional, which is why the breakup hit harder. And then, the conversation took a turn that reignited old tensions. Because while Jennifer Hudson chose silence and composure, Tiffany Haddish did not. The moment tabloids began reporting that Common and Jennifer had gone their separate ways, Tiffany's name re-entered the conversation. Not quietly, but loudly. Jokes, shade, public comments that felt less like humor and more like unresolved emotion. Tiffany Haddish has always been unapologetically herself. Bold, funny, raw. She built her career on telling uncomfortable truths and laughing through pain. And for many fans, that honesty is exactly why they love her. But when her reactions appeared to target Jennifer Hudson, mocking the situation rather than moving past it, people began to question her intentions. Was it just comedy? Or was it something deeper? Sources began whispering that Jennifer Hudson was not amused. Known for her elegance and restraint, Jennifer reportedly did not appreciate being dragged into someone else's unresolved feelings. And when word spread that she confronted Tiffany, the narrative shifted from playful shade to potential conflict. Behind the scenes, things were said to have gotten messy. To understand why emotions were running so high, you have to go back to the beginning, back to when Tiffany Haddish and Common first came together. At the time, their relationship felt refreshing, genuine, almost destined. Fans celebrated it as a win for Tiffany, especially considering her past. Before Common, Tiffany had endured a deeply painful marriage. Her relationship with her ex-husband, William Stewart, left lasting emotional scars, ones she has never been afraid to speak about. She openly described the marriage as controlling and abusive, a period in her life that nearly broke her spirit. It took years for her to heal. So when she stepped into the spotlight with Common by her side, people rooted for her fiercely. They wanted to see her happy, loved, protected. And for a while, it looked like she finally had that. But not everyone was convinced. Some fans couldn't ignore Common's history. His reputation as a romantic drifter preceded him. Powerful women, high-profile romances, deep connections that burned brightly, then faded. The saying echoed through comment sections and podcasts alike, "A playboy once is a playboy forever." Common's dating history reads like a who's who of accomplished women in entertainment. Each relationship carried promise. Each ended in heartbreak. Erykah Badu, Serena Williams, Taraji P. Henson. With Erykah Badu, the connection was intense and soulful. Their brief romance in the early 2000s embodied the neo-soul era, artistic, spiritual, emotionally open. Common later admitted that the breakup devastated him. He described being unable to eat, drifting through life in a haze. Emotionally unanchored. She was his first deep love, the one that opened him up completely. But even that didn't last. Serena Williams came next, a queen in her own right. Strong, disciplined, unstoppable. Fans believed she might be the one to change him. The relationship sparked family rumors, future plans, and hope for longevity. 2 years later, it was over. Once again, the explanation circled back to careers and commitments. Taraji P. Henson followed, a woman with both star power and grounded motherhood. Their relationship stayed mostly private, but the ending was just as quiet. Taraji later revealed that she ended it, mentioning the emotional toll it took on her son. By the time Tiffany Haddish entered the picture, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Still, people hoped. And when Common moved on to Jennifer Hudson, scrutiny intensified. Jennifer was different. Reserved. Established. Unbothered by chaos. She carried herself with a dignity that suggested she knew exactly who she was and what she deserved. Their public reveal on her talk show felt intentional. The flowers. The gifts. The affectionate glances. The way Common described her as God-fearing, grounded, and extraordinary. He even joked about setting impossibly high standards, winning an Oscar on the first movie, hosting her own talk show. It felt like admiration. But admiration doesn't always equal permanence. As rumors of their split gained traction, a new theory emerged, one that shifted the narrative entirely. What if the relationship wasn't just about love? What if it was also about image? Insiders began suggesting that the relationship may have served mutual benefits. Public appearances, endorsements, album promotion, talk show ratings. A polished image of stability and romance. The idea wasn't entirely far-fetched in an industry where relationships often double as branding strategies. And when voices like Tasha K echoed this theory publicly, the debate exploded. Was Common simply doing what he's always done, connecting deeply, then moving on? Or was this something more calculated? As the internet dissected every angle, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about a breakup. It was about patterns, perception, and the complicated intersections of love, fame, and personal growth. And in the middle of it all stood three powerful women, each reacting differently to the same man. One chose silence, one chose humor, and one chose reflection. But the story was far from over. Before Jennifer Hudson ever entered the picture, before the talk show appearances and public declarations of admiration, there was Tiffany Haddish and Common, a relationship many believed was built on something rare in Hollywood, emotional safety. At the time, Tiffany Haddish was at a pivotal point in her life. Her career was soaring. She had become one of the most recognizable comedians in the world, known not only for her humor but for her brutal honesty. She laughed loudly, loved openly, and spoke freely about pain most people preferred to hide. And behind that laughter was a woman who had survived deep trauma. Tiffany has never shied away from discussing her past marriage to William Stewart. She described it as violent, controlling, and emotionally devastating. For years, she lived in survival mode, trying to make it in comedy while trapped in a relationship that slowly stripped away her sense of self. When that marriage finally ended, the scars remained. Healing didn't happen overnight. Trust didn't come easily. Love felt risky. And for a long time, Tiffany focused on rebuilding herself, her confidence, her joy, her independence. So when she and Common crossed paths, the connection felt different. Common wasn't just another celebrity. He was thoughtful, calm, spiritual. He spoke about growth, therapy, and self-awareness, things that resonated deeply with Tiffany. In interviews, she later described their relationship as the safest and most loving she had ever experienced. That statement alone carried weight. For someone who had endured abuse, safety was everything. And for a moment, it seemed like Tiffany had finally found a partner who didn't dim her light, but instead allowed her to shine freely. Fans celebrated them. Social media was filled with messages of support, pride, and hope. People wanted this love story to succeed, not just because they liked the couple, but because it symbolized healing, redemption, a happy ending after years of pain. But beneath the surface, cracks were quietly forming. While Tiffany embraced the relationship wholeheartedly, others questioned Common's intentions. His reputation loomed large. No matter how evolved or introspective he appeared, people couldn't ignore his romantic history. The pattern followed him like a shadow. Powerful women, deep emotional bonds, then eventual departure. Still, Tiffany believed this time was different. She spoke openly about how loved she felt, how respected, how understood. And for a while, Common seemed equally invested. They appeared together at events, supported each other's projects, and spoke warmly about one another in interviews. But as time passed, subtle shifts began to occur. Common's schedule grew heavier. Travel increased. Projects stacked up. And slowly, distance crept in, not just physical, but emotional. Tiffany, who had already learned how fragile love could be, felt the shift deeply. When the breakup finally came, it wasn't mutual. That detail mattered. Tiffany later revealed that she didn't want the relationship to end. She didn't see it coming in the way Common did. For her, it felt sudden, another moment where stability slipped through her fingers without warning. The pain resurfaced. And this time, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was disappointment. Disappointment in believing the pattern could be broken. Disappointment in trusting that growth and therapy meant permanence. Disappointment in loving fully, only to be left behind. She used an analogy that stuck with many people. She compared Common to a bee, one that enjoys visiting many flowers, drawing nourishment from each, but never settling on just one. The metaphor was powerful and painfully accurate to those who had followed Common's romantic journey. While Tiffany tried to laugh through the pain, the hurt lingered. And when Common eventually moved on publicly, with Jennifer Hudson, that wound reopened. Watching your former partner build a new narrative with someone else is never easy. Watching them appear more settled, more serious, more changed can be unbearable. And that's when emotions spilled over. Tiffany's jokes about the breakup weren't just humor, they were a coping mechanism. A way to reclaim power. A way to mask unresolved feelings behind laughter. But not everyone saw it that way. To the public, it began to look like bitterness. Especially when the jokes seemed to target Jennifer Hudson rather than Common himself. Jennifer, known for her grace and emotional restraint, chose not to engage publicly. She didn't clap back. She didn't joke. She didn't explain. And that silence spoke volumes. Sources claimed Jennifer was deeply uncomfortable with being pulled into someone else's healing process. She had entered her relationship with Common privately and carefully, only to find herself at the center of ridicule once it ended. Eventually, the tension reportedly reached a breaking point. Behind closed doors, words were exchanged. Boundaries were drawn. And whatever cordial distance existed between Tiffany and Jennifer allegedly vanished. At the same time, public perception began to shift. Fans who once cheered for Tiffany started urging her to let go. Comment sections filled with reminders that the real issue wasn't Jennifer, it was Common's inability to commit long-term. Why attack another woman, many asked, when the pattern is right there? Others, however, empathized deeply with Tiffany. They saw a woman who had finally felt safe, only to lose it. A woman who had invested emotionally, believing growth meant change. A woman grappling with the realization that sometimes, even healed people still leave. And that realization hurts the most. As the drama unfolded, one truth became clear. Tiffany Haddish wasn't just reacting to a breakup. She was reacting to hope lost. Hope that this love would last. Hope that this man would stay. Hope that her story would finally have a different ending. But in Hollywood, hope often clashes with reality. And as Common's relationship with Jennifer Hudson appeared polished and peaceful from the outside, Tiffany was left watching from the sidelines, forced to process yet another ending publicly. What many didn't realize was that this wasn't the end of Tiffany's healing, it was another chapter. A painful one. And as history would soon reveal, Jennifer Hudson might not have been spared the same fate. Because when patterns repeat, they rarely discriminate. By the time Tiffany Haddish openly compared Common to a bee drifting from flower to flower, many people quietly admitted what they had been thinking for years. The metaphor wasn't cruel, it was observant. And once spoken aloud, it became impossible to ignore. Because Common's romantic history wasn't just a list of relationships. It was a pattern. A pattern built on intensity, admiration, emotional openness, and eventual distance. To understand why so many women seem to walk away from him wounded, you have to look closely at the timeline of his past relationships, not as isolated stories, but as connected chapters of the same book. Let's start where many believe everything truly began. Erykah Badu, the first deep love in the early 2000s, Common and Erykah Badu embodied an era. Their style, their spirituality, their artistry, it all blended seamlessly. Together, they felt untouchable. Their relationship represented vulnerability and creative freedom, something Common later admitted he had never experienced before. He described loving Erykah as being open and floating, emotionally unguarded in a way that scared him. And when it ended, the fallout was devastating. Common later revealed that he was emotionally shattered by the breakup. He struggled to eat. He drifted through life without direction. The pain lingered long after the relationship ended. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was imprinting. For many psychologists, first love often shapes how someone approaches intimacy for years to come. And in Common's case, that emotional depth may have become both a standard and a fear. He knew how deeply he could feel, but he also knew how much it hurt when it ended. And perhaps, subconsciously, he learned to leave before being left. Serena Williams. Power meets power, then came Serena Williams. On paper, this relationship seemed unbreakable. Two icons. Two disciplined achievers. Two individuals who understood ambition at the highest level. Fans believed Serena might be the one to ground Common, to match his emotional intensity with unwavering strength. There were whispers of family plans, long-term commitment, and permanence. But after nearly 2 years, it ended. Once again, the explanation circled back to busy schedules and competing priorities. To the public, it sounded familiar. Too familiar. How many times could the same excuse explain different endings before it stopped being believable? What became clear was that Common didn't struggle with attraction, affection, or admiration. He struggled with staying. Taraji P. Henson. Quiet love, quiet exit. Taraji P. Henson brought something different into Common's life. She was deeply grounded, fiercely protective of her son, and unapologetically real. Their relationship was mostly private, kept away from the spotlight. And when it ended, it was Taraji who walked away. She later explained that her son was deeply affected by the breakup, a detail that hinted at how serious the relationship had become behind closed doors. Yet, once again, there were no public explanations. No drama. Just silence. Another chapter closed. Another woman moved on. By the time Tiffany Haddish entered Common's life, the pattern was already written, though many hoped she would be the exception. And for a moment, it felt like she might be. Therapy, growth, and the illusion of change. One detail that caught the public's attention later was the revelation that Common had been in therapy. He spoke openly about growth, self-reflection, and emotional awareness. He even joked that his therapist once asked him if he could stay in a relationship for 2 years. "I can do 2, he reportedly said. That statement raised eyebrows. Because why was longevity something that needed to be negotiated? To some, it suggested self-awareness. To others, it sounded like limitation. And when his relationship with Jennifer Hudson lasted around that same 2-year mark, the coincidence was impossible to ignore. Was Common truly evolving, or simply extending the cycle? The bee and the flower. Tiffany's metaphor continued to resonate because it explained what words couldn't. A bee doesn't mean harm. It doesn't visit flowers with cruelty. It simply follows instinct, drawn to beauty, nourishment, and novelty. But once the pollen is collected, it moves on. The flower is left unchanged on the surface, but altered beneath. Many women who loved Common spoke respectfully of him even after heartbreak. None accused him of abuse. None painted him as malicious. But affection without permanence can still wound. Because when a man gives love deeply but temporarily, the loss feels heavier. The attachment forms. The future is imagined. And then, without drama or betrayal, it simply ends. That kind of ending can be the hardest to process. Jennifer Hudson. The illusion of stability. By the time Common appeared on Jennifer Hudson's talk show and openly acknowledged their relationship, many believed he had finally settled. The gestures were grand. Flowers, jewelry, public praise. He spoke about her faith, her humility, her strength. He joked about setting impossible standards, winning an Oscar on her first movie, hosting her own talk show. The audience applauded. It felt serious. It felt intentional. But behind the smiles and applause, some viewers felt uneasy. Because they had seen this before. The admiration, the elevation, the narrative of "this one is different." And yet, history had taught them to wait. When rumors of their breakup began circulating, people didn't ask if it was true, they asked when it happened. Once again, Common appeared calm, reflective, at peace. He spoke about missing someone while still being fine, about accepting endings as part of life. And once again, the woman connected to him was left navigating the aftermath publicly. The common denominator as interviews resurfaced and social media dissected old clips, a phrase began trending in comment sections.